Okay, everybody, thank you for sticking around. Sit wherever you guys want, you know. Boy, girl, you know.
We don't have any gender.
We need to, well, I was telling Michelle, we need more. I mean, I just talking, I'm absolutely sorry. Hi, everybody, so I'm back again, but I'm not going to talk this time, hopefully. Again, thank you for sticking around. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, the Alliance is what, you know, we collectively are putting together to really address the industry problems together. And, you know, as I said before, large companies and small companies, you see over here. And we're open to all, we want everyone because everyone has to contribute to this. So I'm really, really super excited. So thank you guys and girls for being part of this. Really, really appreciate, you know, your partnership and really appreciate your participation here. So maybe you can first start off. I don't want to introduce ECV, maybe introduce yourself and your company if you'd like. And then we can go from there. So Michelle, since you're next to me, maybe you can start.
Is this on?
Perfect.
My name is Michelle Hua, and I am the CEO and founder of Renew Optics. We are an early-stage startup based in San Francisco, and we're working on developing assistive devices for people with low vision using AR, VR-enabled technology. For the AR Alliance, I am the chair of the Safety Standards Work Group.
Thank you, Michelle. Murat?
Hi. My name is Murat Deveci. I work as a Director of Global Sales and Business Development at Opto Fidelity. We do optical metrology tools and testing equipment for AR, VR displays. And I'm also the committee chair for the Image Quality Measurements Group. Thank you.
Eric, please.
So my name is Eric Marcellin-Dibon. So I'm the founder of MicroLED. We are based in France, in Grenoble. We develop, well, we manufacture micro displays, so OLED micro display that we sell to integrators. But in addition to that, we move up the value chain as well, and we develop Active Loop, which is a light AR technology, light AR platform, open platform, to enable the market and to sell glasses already. You know, so we have already product on the market in that field of augmented reality.
Thank you. Edgar, please.
Hi, I'm Edgar Auslander. I'm in charge of strategic partnerships at Meta, which was the new name formerly known as Facebook. And I originated the partnership with EssilorLuxottica and the Ray-Ban stories, or now the Ray-Ban Meta that I'm wearing. So, yep.
Okay, and Bernard.
Yeah, thank you, Bharath. My name is Bernard Kress. I'm the director of XR engineering at Google. I have been in that field for some time now. Still waiting for a product to, you know, make it through. Starting in 2012 with Google Glass, and then joining Microsoft HoloLens in 2015, and coming back to Google with a renewed interest on AR in 2021. I'm an optical engineer. I was also the president of the International Society for Optics and Photonics, and we had many panels already at SPIE AR VR MR. I'm really glad that we share these conferences with AWE. AWE more on the experience side, and SPIE AR VR MR in January more on the hardware side.
Thank you, Bernard. This is a quick pitch for you guys as well. SPIE AR MR is a really exciting conference. If you haven't been there, I recommend you go there. We'll all be there again this year, well, next year, end of January. So it'll be really much more focused on optics and hardware and technologies. And I invite you all, if you haven't been there, to go check it out. It's quite illuminating. What I'd like to do now is, you know, I talked about the working groups. I talked about what we're working on. I want to maybe give, you know, our chairs here of the working groups talk about what they do, just to give you a flavor of the approaches that we take. Some of the questions that were asked about, hey, standards and what do you do and how does it work and so on and so forth. Maybe it'll be more illuminating. So we'll start with that first, and then I'll ask some questions. But what we really want to do, all of us collectively, is have a conversation with you. We don't want to sit here and talk for an hour and bore you to death. But rather have a conversation. So as we talk to you, just think of questions or conversations or comments or suggestions, and really, engage with us, because that's where we all learn, quite frankly. So with that, I want to, start with, just a description of the working group structure. And now, if you don't mind, in the back, if you can throw me a slide there, fantastic. So I think we'll start with the image quality. Murat, you want to give a quick synopsis of that?
Yeah, sure.
If you have an animation, you can hit that too. Okay.
So a quality of any type of see-through AR display can be quickly assessed by just putting that into your head. So basically, what you are looking is the image. So if the image is not really good for your eyes, so that you are not really enjoying the experience, and then you are quickly making a decision that this is not a good product. So from our point of view, especially when you look at the hardware challenges, most of the stuff are ending up with a bad image quality, and then those are also resulting in a decision that you are not liking the product, and then you are labeling the product as a bad product. So that's why we are thinking that the image quality is one of the key parameters when you're assessing an AR/VR wearable device. So the committee of the IQM3 has been established in order to standardize how we measure, how we assess the image quality. There have been lots of different standardization efforts so far, and we are also part of those efforts, such as IEC, such as the SID, such as there's FDA, Food Drug Administration related standardization efforts. And in addition to those, there is also a couple of activities from the defense industry. NATO countries, they're also working on helmet displays image quality standardization. Those are specifically targeted for the image quality. So when we know that what we are looking for from a good image and bad image, there are certain parameters that we could quickly assess what is good and what is bad image. So for example, here in this schematic, I try to highlight that there is the color, there is the distortion, there's the uniformity, there is the MTF sharpness, for example. These are really the key parameters how you can quickly assess an image quality of an AR/VR display. So regardless of what type of display technology, regardless of it is waveguide-based, even if it's waveguide-based, it is diffractive, holographic, or reflective, you are looking for from the point of view from a human eye, basically. So you need to understand the human eye, human visual system very well, and now you need to try to replicate the human visual system in a way that it will capture the images as your human eye will capture it. So some of the topics that we discussed during the committee, for example, it was including how to replicate the human eye in terms of a lens, which in fact, as a company, we already did that. So that's why we have some hands-on experience. So we studied the human eye with the scientists and with the optical engineering team that we have it in-house, and then we try to replicate the human eye. So far, we have been very successful for that. And then we also understand and differentiate the image quality metrics for the R&D testing and the mass production level testing. And then we also try to analyze how we can measure the eye bags, how we can scan the eye bags much faster than current IEC standards, for example. The current IEC standards may take up to 900 seconds in order to fully capture the 3D volume of the eye bags. But right now, we have developed an algorithm which is scanning the full eye bags in less than 30 seconds. So this is also very important when you make production level testing. And the next topic that we discussed a couple of weeks back was the differences between the contrast transfer function and the modular transfer function, and when to measure which one and why. And the next topics we already lined up in our agenda. Those will be for color analysis and then the light engine. So when you think about the AR displays, you do not only have the waveguide, you also have the projector, which is a light engine. So we also need to think about image quality assessment of the light engine specifically. And then, of course, in the end, we need to document all of this properly, and then we will submit this documentation to the necessary organizations, and then we'll be following up how to make this happen in a global standard. Thank you.
Thank you, Murat. I appreciate that. So again, gives you a little flavor of that. I think, Eric, I'll pass it over to you. You can pass over the clicker to him. And then, Eric, over to you. So
okay.
Take it away.
I don't know if you have the slide.
Just click it. So hit the green button. There you go.
Excuse me.
Sorry. There you go. Sorry.
Okay, so just to explain the background of this, I mean, we in MicroLED, we started the ActiveLook platform a few years ago with a sport brand, Jules Beau, for sport glasses, and then we introduced our own brand, which is called the Go. So it's a little bit in the same category that the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, so we're already in the light AR type of product. So at the other end of the spectrum, compared to the Meta Quest or the Vision Pro. And so we started, we tried to sell the glasses for the past 3 years, and it's going very well now. We have really ramping up in volume, and we learn quite a lot because we are selling directly to the customer, to the end customer. And we started with the vertical of the sport. Not only, we sell the glasses for industry as well, but to get the feedback from the people. And so we learn a lot of things through the Active Look experience. And, just before the conference, somebody was asking, why does augmented reality does not start? Each year we think it's going to be next year, and we never see the product. So at least we have product on the market, but I mean, my learning is that the main point is a use case. We have been doing a lot of technology push for the past 25 years or 30 years already, say that I want to have a camera, I want to have plenty of things in the glasses. But at the end, what is really key is the use case. How the people are going to use the glasses. And we started Active Look as an open platform. So we provide, the API, and we have people developing applications. And step by step, of course, it takes time because you need to have glasses on the market, and you need to have people who want to develop applications for the glasses. And step by step, we have more and more people developing applications for the glasses. We have about 500 developers worldwide at ActiveLook, which is quite good. And we see more and more applications in the field of fitness, in the field of industry, which are based on our platform. So that's why we wanted to join the AR Alliance, because we wanted to make that ecosystem, that protocol, and to work with many people to improve that protocol. Actually, the first protocol that we developed is a very simple protocol based on Bluetooth. And we want to improve it, because step by step, you will have more sensor in the glasses. So how does the sensor talk to the mobile phone or talk to the watch? How do you organize everything to be very low power? Because at the end, you need to fit everything in about 35 grams, otherwise it's not very comfortable. So there's a key challenge on the power consumption. And the way you organize a protocol will enable, to stay at very low power. So what did we learn? I mean, we learned that most of the light AR use case, we can organize it, around that type of families. When you are talking, I mean, the feedback that we get from customers when we go on an exhibition or whatever, but really customers who are using the glasses. Fitness, sport is really a driver. Navigation. Everybody is asking for navigation. Everybody is expecting to get notification, to get messages and everything. It's maybe not the reason why that we buy the glasses, but at least, this is a must-have. And then, starting to get interest on what, AI assistant or agent. And we have some application with speech to text and so on. So it's really interesting to think about it, in a work group to see, what can we bring to the end customer, which will motivate them, to go into that market. What is interesting as well that we learned from the Active platform is that mobile developers, I mean, what we call a light AR is a platform where it's not embedded in the eyewear. So actually the processing is on a mobile phone or in the watch or in another device, and it will communicate the information to the glasses. And it goes as well in the other direction. The benefit of that type of platform is that you can leverage existing application. So just to give you an example, the first application that we developed, for sport, of course, it was for running and cycling. But now we have plenty of applications for sailing or for paragliding. And so that's existing application. For instance, I know one application which is called NMUA Remote for sailing. So that application has been around for maybe 10 years, on the mobile phone. And so they just developed the communication to the AR glasses. And what we learn as well that users, they are okay to make some trade-off on the technology as long as I can get glasses which looks like glasses and which are comfortable. This is really key. So it's really very important to have, that type of working group on the protocol to make sure that we can enable good use case, but also a very, light, similar to the Ray-Ban, by the way, light and elegant, as Edgar can show, glasses for light AR. And so the takeaway is that we can leverage, the ecosystem of existing application on Android, iOS, and so on the watch as well to successfully develop that market. And so, of course, we need to enrich that protocol to add sensor, to add technology, and so on, to always keep it at very, very, very low power, because this is key to make something very portable, and to try to make it as standard as possible. So as of today, in the protocol, it's just a Bluetooth low energy protocol, so that you go through the Bluetooth channel, but you organize the information in the correct way to minimize the power consumption. And so we are leading that working group. So the objective, of course, is to define, the communication protocol for light AR, always staying at very low power consumption. And the key features, at the moment, it's not, as I said, it's really in a, it's not an OS in the glasses, but it's a kind of master-slave architecture where you have platform, mobile phone, watch, Garmin, or different type of watch talking to the glasses. It needs to stay at, in Bluetooth low energy. So it doesn't mean that you will not be in addition to other protocol or other way, for augmented reality. But let's say that 80% of the time, we believe that customer will use the glasses for very simple information. Navigation, tracking performance, AR assistant, that type of, or messages. So most of the time, you want to limit the communication to Bluetooth. And so the platform, in the first step, it was display-centric, because what we do in MicroLED, we develop a very low power OLED micro display. So we try to organize everything to be very low power, but we want to add many functions, and to be able to be compatible with any type of display. So OLED, LCOS, LED, whatever, different resolution, whatever. So we will need to enrich the protocol in that direction. You will want to add some sensor or microphone or audio or camera or different type of things, but always try to focus on that low power, very light protocol.
Great, thank you very much, Eric, appreciate that. Let's go over to Michelle next on this and finish off with Edgar. So.
I know it's Thursday afternoon, but it feels like Friday afternoon, so I'm going to be talking to you about safety standards. It can be a bit of a dry and boring topic, so just bear with me. Okay, so for those that are not familiar, UL Solutions is one of the world's leading organizations that does testing, inspection, and certification for safety in applied sciences. And there are other agencies that publish safety standards as well, like ANSI, ISO, IEC. Specifically, we're focused on UL because UL has, in conjunction with ANSI and CAN, which is the Canadian version of the standards, they've published the very first safety standards for AR, VR, MR equipment. That was published back in April of 2023. I highly encourage you to go to their website, and it's available for purchase. For those that are developing devices in AR, VR, I think it's a must to refer to the standards. So last year, our alliance became a member of UL's technical committee that is in charge of drafting the second edition of the standards. as I mentioned, 8400. And the purpose of this is, as Bharath has mentioned, it's important to develop standards, and in this particular instance, with a focus on safety. And as you'll see, we, as a work group of the Alliance, we'd like to think about our activities broken down into three main purposes. One is to educate our Alliance members on safety. What should we talk about or focus on when it comes to safety for AR/VR equipment? This is an emerging area. We've never in history put electronic equipment with a lot of features on our heads. So what are these unique requirements that we should be focused on? For education, we are focused on educating the members on the UL 8400 standards and also looking at ISO IEC 15927, which is an international, technically a guideline, not a standards, that also mentions a lot of very important topics so that all the members can get a good sense of what to pay attention to. And eventually, as you create your device with the guidance of the standards, you could seek certification from UL. Another purpose that we have is participation. We are helping the members participate actively in the drafting of the next edition of UL's standards. So we can, as a voting member of UL's technical committee, we can vote to include a clause or remove or revise a clause. We can also, if something is missing in the standards, we can also propose a new clause on a topic that the standards have not covered. So I'd like to say that it's a way for everyone to have a seat at the table to participate in the development of safety standards for our industry. Another purpose that our work group serves is to advocate for our Alliance members in terms of raising their concerns or even for clarification on what does this safety standard mean, or here's a risk assessment test that my company should go through to prove mechanical robustness, but it's not clear to me how it's done. Under advocacy, we're here to help people understand the standards and also really help them reach their objectives. So here on the right side, you'll see that I have the cover page of the standards. It's about 70 pages long. It's not the most interesting read, but generally I can share with you that the topics that are included are optical see-through visual function, flicker, skin biocompatibility, exposure of eyes to thermal energy, biomechanical stress, mechanical robustness, safety and warning instructions, and risk assessment methods for the above. So you'll see that these are important topics, right, when you're developing a device. But the first edition, by all means, does not cover everything. I'm sure a lot of you here can already think of some things that the standards do not cover. So our job as the Safety Standards Work Group within the AIR Alliance is to propose some of these topics for future editions of UL 8400. Yep.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And finally, Edgar, I think I'll leave it over to you. Talk about AR accessibility and what all that means for us.
So yeah, before I go there, we have like four working groups in the AR Alliance, and so when we joined, the three working groups that were just exposed existed. So Michel shares the safety, and Murat the image quality, and Xavier, who works with Eric at STMicroelectronics, the low power protocol. So we gladly joined all those working groups, and we felt the necessity of creating an additional one, which is the accessibility working group. And it's chaired by a person called Jasmine Sears, and I'm not Jasmine Sears, so I'm going to try to explain what this is, but I'm not a very big specialist of accessibility. But it's a topic that we care a lot about at Meta. So the idea is to guide the AR industry towards accessible design decisions, to make the products usable by everyone. And I'm going to explain what that means, regardless of their physical or cognitive differences. So example for that is, for example, if you are colorblind, maybe we can take care of showing you different colors that you'll understand, or have better contrast, or things like that. If you don't hear well, maybe we enhance your hearing without hearing aids. If you don't see well, maybe we can correct it. So yeah, this is the example here that we provide for colorblindness to cope with such things. So what is disability? It's a mismatch between the person's ability and the environment. What is important, though, is that this can be temporary, or it can be, I break a leg, and maybe after a few months the leg is recovered, but meanwhile I'm disabled. Or it can be permanent, like I'm losing my hearing, hear loss, or unfortunately now I have, due to an accident, I have some floaters, and I cannot cope remedy to that, and it's for forever. But sometimes you can mitigate that. How prevalent is disability? It's according to the World Health Organization, about 60% of the world population is disabled. But what is important is that most people are occasionally disabled because they are sick, or because they have an accident, or because of a certain situation. And the goal here is to not distinguish between this situational and medical disability. And our goal, therefore, is to make the AR devices used by someone with disability just as the same as someone without. And so the minimum viable product is fully functional for people with disability, or low vision and things like that. So there are several cohorts of that we can address: vision impairment, or cognitive, physical hearing, mostly, and then probably speech in the future. But all those are topics we can all work on.
Thank you very much, Edgar. So that gives you a perspective, as I said earlier. Oh, sorry, there's more here. Just give.
Yeah, here is an illustration. Sorry.
Yeah, this is important actually.
So here you can see on the left, you can read, but then situationally, when you have the same type of display and there is something in the background, it's very tough to read. So this is also an accessibility type of issue. It's maybe a UX issue, but I classify this as accessibility.
Yeah, that's a good one. I saw that, I'm like, oh, I get it now, because I didn't actually think about these things. So, I think you get a perspective now and a feeling for the work that we're doing as an organization, and what we really hope to, thank you, what we really hope to continue to drive forward. So Bernard, you're nuking the block, so to speak, in this case, 2 days. And
yeah, but I'm super glad that we just joined
the
Alliance as founding members, and I invite you to read the press release on the website.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. We're delighted to have you. And again, you've been on the block, if I can say such a thing, if you don't mind me saying that. And so, I'm looking forward to work groups from Google as well. But from your perspective, Bernard, you've been around, you've seen a lot, you've been in the industry for such a long time, From your perspective, what do you think are some of the key things the industry should do from a hardware perspective, right, to enable this market? I mean, I've talked about some things here, but you've seen so much. You've been at Google, you've been at Microsoft and SPIE as well. So, on all the things you've seen, all the things you learned, what are one of the 1-2 things you really think that we need to do as an industry, that we can do?
Well, first of all, I'm representing Google here,
Yes.
so I'm going to talk a little bit about what Google thinks. So in 1998, Google defined its motto: make the world's information, organize the world's information, and make it accessible to everyone and useful to everyone. That was in 1998, and that's very true today with AR. Now, Google is not new in AR. Started 12 years ago with Google Glass, Daydream Project, VR, AR Core, and now platform for XR and smart glasses. Today, I've been in this field a long time, and I have seen many successes. I talked about the first time we might actually see a smart glass for consumer, but there were many successes before in AR, in optical see-through devices, in industry, in enterprise, and in defense. Remember the $22 billion contract with HoloLens. This is a great success. It's not consumer. So what was the problem, and why do I think that today the stars are aligned to provide great echo in the consumer field, especially for smart glasses? I think the first thing, and this is what you do, Bharath, with the AR Alliance, is to provide a hardware ecosystem, a worldwide hardware ecosystem that is comprised not only of large corporations, but also startups and contract manufacturers, all 3 tiers, right? Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. And I'm really glad that I see this here at the AR Alliance. This was not available in the past years, and as you may remember, every company in the field of smart glasses tried to reinvent the wheel on their own. This is really not the way to go. This is what we did at Google Glass. This is what many other companies did. Today, thanks to initiatives like the AR Alliance, the AR hardware ecosystem is available. That's the basis, right? That's the first layer of the cake. A second layer of the cake, and this is really important for Google today, is a platform. There was no platform. People used Android, people used other, half-baked platforms. Today, we have a clear vision of what the platform landscape is. First of all, there's a closed platform, which is Vision OS for Apple, right? Second, there's a couple of platforms that are now available and will be available very soon, which is Meta's Horizon OS and Google's Android OS for XR, and this will be coming very, very soon. So that's the second layer, generic platform, which actually leverages the hardware ecosystem. But in order to provide a true and a good experience from the platform, the hardware needs to raise to certain standards. And we talked about these standards, and this is really important. What is the third layer of the cake? Well, there's 3 layers, right? First one is the hardware ecosystem. Second one is the platform. The third one are the apps. And especially today, the AI-powered apps with Gemini, as you might have seen in our I/O video, Google I/O video a couple of months ago, how powerful AI assistant can be, going from the smartphone seamlessly to the glasses. So when you look at that video, you actually don't see the transition from the smartphone to the glasses. It's the same user. It's the same use case. It's the same the same AI assistant. But seamlessly, you go from the smartphone to the smart glasses. The focus is not on the glasses anymore. It's on the use case, as we said again before. So this is really important. This is number 2. This is very important today. We came a long way to realize that it's not a hardware, it's a use case. But the hardware has to be there. This is the first layer of the cake. The use case is a third layer of the cake, and in between, you have to have generic platforms that we work on all. I mean, me, you, and the third one who's not represented here, the closed ecosystem.
Next time. No, but I appreciate
Maybe next time.
No, that's a great answer. Edgar, do you want to say any comments? Thank you very much for that. It's very clear.
I totally agree, and also I couldn't agree more with Eric that it's all about the use case. Now, I want to bring a small other dimension to this. I observe that very often companies don't match the use case and product definition. So metaphorically, I'm going to give you an example I like to give. Bikes are very useful, cars are very useful, and airplanes are also very useful. Very different use case, even though they are all in the travel industry type of thing. And too often I've seen companies trying to do flying bikes. So the first observation is that flying bikes are very difficult to do. Second observation is that I'm not sure I want one, because I'm not ET. And the other observation is that companies doing bikes, despite what the airplane companies are doing, but they shouldn't. It's very different. And then when you want to refine things, the car industry has SUVs and they have buses. Same story. Some people who do cars, they are doing buses, but they should do SUVs or they should do cars. So I stopped the analogy, but I think it's a powerful one. And if you don't agree, we can go and I can explain what I mean even more.
We can chat later with Edgar. Anybody else have any comments in that regard? Anything? No?
No, again, for me, I mean, the use case is really very important. It's clear. And we need to learn from the people because most of us here are engineers or really in the industry, and so we have, let's say, a vision which may be different from the everyday people. So
I like to add something else. Many people tell me, "Hey, when is the art taking off?" Well, look, you have a TV and there is a. Well, I don't know American football, but imagine there is American football displayed on the TV, and then there is a commentator that there is a circle on the TV and it gives the name of the guy. Well, that's augmented reality without glasses, but that's augmenting the reality. There is also audio augmented reality. It's not always display. So the Meta Ray-Bans are a good example where I can say, "Hey Meta, take a picture," and takes a picture. And then I can say, "Hey Meta, look at this," and translate in French, and it would do it. So it's not always like, okay, we have VR, which is completely immersive, MR, which is video see-through, and then you have full AR, which is AR with Sorry. Sorry about that.
It has some disadvantages.
No, I know. The connection is not good because there is too much light there. So anyway, but I can go outside and then, for example, there is a magazine. I can say, summarize this for me, for example. So anyway.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your comments. It's really appreciated. I think it's very clear. It's very coherent. As I said in the beginning, I want this to be a conversation. We could sit here and talk for another hour or two and bore you guys, and we don't want to do that. And so we'd love to hear you. We have 10 minutes left. Love to hear your questions and comments here. Got a great panel here, so I encourage you guys to come up here and ask any questions at this point. Maybe just go to the mic? Of course, yes. Please just go to the mic. I'm sorry. Yes. Well, yes. Yes. Let's go to the mic and please.
Testing. Okay, great. Thank you. First of all, thank you all for everything that you're doing. What advice would you give to startups? So we're a startup. We're in the biometric space or using wearable devices to democratize, assessment and so forth. Now that you've got these products coming out, we got to start thinking, before it was, how is it going to be on a smartphone, 10 years ago. Now it's like, how is it going to fit on those lenses? Like, how should we start thinking about using our information going to the phone, the tablet, the computer, and the glasses? Thank you.
Great question. Who wants to take that one? Edgar, go for it.
Okay, so I was a VC. It's very simple. What problem are you solving? What's the target market? Why now? Why are you better? What's your solution? What's the defensible thing? And then that's it. How much money do you need? Or how do you exit? And that's it. It's a universal thing, but people always have a solution, but they don't understand what problem they are solving. So once you have a problem that is well identified, that is a real need, not a gadget, then you go and say, okay, why am I better and why me? And so it's not specific to AR, but it's applicable to AR.
I think what is also very important is to clearly quantify what type of features you need in a hardware in order to provide the experience you want to transfer to the consumer. What type of sensors, what type of display, what type of audio, especially sensors. You know, there's a wide variety of sensors that can be implemented, which will, I go back to Eric's 35 grams, which will, provide 600 grams of hardware, right? Just like the AVP, and not 35. So what is really the minimum requirements in terms of sensing, in terms of display, and in terms of audio, so that your application, your specific use case can be transferred in the best way to the consumer. And this is also related to the standards. What standard of sensors and display and audio and imaging you require, and really stick to this, because eventually there's going to be a standard also for smart glasses. And if you need a non-standard sensor, well, you'll have to do it yourself, right? It's not going to be provided by the hardware ecosystem.
And I think, excuse me, I think it's a bit benefit of that type of AR alliance, because you get feedback from many industry as well to understand what are the segments. I come back to the flying bike. It's very true. I think it's a complete mistake to think that you will fit everything in a pair of glasses. For at least in the coming years, it will take a lot of time. So. I see a lot of benefit, of this AR alliance to understand, to share, what is the key benefit, what is the use case, what is the market that you want to address.
I think, Michelle, you have a unique perspective here as well that you can share.
So
please.
as a fellow startup, I can share with you that finding resources is probably one of the major challenges for us. How do we integrate? You mentioned perhaps you have a product that you want to add to a VR headset, for example. Where do I find the resources for that? Networking is a major component to being a player in this industry. And my startup joined the AR Alliance because I always tell the engineers that I work with, it takes a village to create a multidisciplinary device, which is what we're all here doing. And without a strong network of supporters and the resources to lean on, I think it's virtually impossible for a startup to develop a product in this space. So I would encourage you to form a strong network. And that way you can always tap into those resources and also get a good sense of what other startups are doing, right? Because times are changing so fast in this space. What was relevant last year is no longer true today. So yeah, definitely form a strong network.
Thank you. Eric, please.
Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Particularly Bharath, such a good job. It's fantastic to see such an amazing group of people, and particularly seeing the Meta and Google joining the AR Alliance. You've done a fantastic thing here, And I'm here to say that as a professor at the University of California, we'll be making the University of California a member of the AR Alliance for you as well. So we're anxious to collaborate with
Yay.
you.
Yay, thank you.
So-
We appreciate that. And,
Thank you.
And we lucky universities. Thank you for your.
So I'm going to try not to be too professorial here, but I'm going to push back on Edgar a little bit because I am going to point out that the Wright brothers were bicycle makers before they made airplanes. So, but they changed. The Wright brothers changed from making bicycles to making airplanes, and so that was a technological revolution, of course. So here's my question for our panel. As an academic, especially dealing with the university bureaucracy, I'm always trying to find an example that worked beforehand so I don't have to convince somebody to do something new. So my question for you is there an example that we can look at in the various industries that you've worked in? Edgar, we talked about cell phones the other day. So I don't know, was the establishment of the Bluetooth communication standard, was that a good example of an industry alliance coming together to bring a standard? And then Michelle, the other thing I'm thinking about is medical devices. So the medical device industry obviously has a terribly strong vested interest in safety and quality of devices that are used in humans. So again, is there an alliance? Is there a industry standard group that we can look at to guide our alliance to do so we don't trip all over all the things that they did in the past? Bernard or Edgar, do you guys have any industry standards that you had standard groups like this in the past that did a good job, and how did they do a good job?
Yeah, so trying to come up with industry standards and guidelines is not new. It's not the first initiative, and we tried this many years ago with the SPIE. We tried it with companies like 3M. It was painful. In the early stages, we really needed these standards and these definitions in order to compare hardware. For example, one company says, hey, I have an iBox of this. Oh, I have an iBox that's 2 millimeters larger. But if you put the standards on, that larger iBox is actually smaller, because there's 1,000 different ways to define an iBox. There's 1,000 different ways to define the efficiency of your waveguide. Maybe not 1,000, but a few dozen. And it's really, really complicated to go outside in the exhibition booth, and talk to one waveguide manufacturer and compare it to another waveguide manufacturer because these standards are not available. Everybody has its own way, and very, very credible way to define the KPIs of the display system, for example. I'm an optical engineer, so I'm talking about the display system, but this pertains also to the compute, to the communication, to the audio, right? So this is really the first reason why we were yearning for these standards. And then, not reinvent the wheel completely. Standards in vision have been done since a long time. I'm very glad that EssilorLuxottica is also part of this AR Alliance, although they're not on the panel today. And we're not going to reinvent the wheel there. We're going to team up with these industries that know the regulatory world that changes from state to state, not only from country to country, but state to state, and we interface with these standards. And that's really what you're looking at: how to interface your world to the AR standards. And this is exactly what we did in AR to interface with the vision world, which exists since 100 years now. And we don't want to reinvent this wheel. So I think this is the core of our question.
It's really important. We are not a standards body. We do not want to be a standards body. Be very clear on that point, right? They exist already out there. And our job is to say, hey, here's what we need for the industry. Here's what we collectively want as industry. So having big companies and small companies and experts in different domains come together and say, hey, here's why. We hope that kind of groundswell approach will be able to drive the industry forward.
But I think Eric had a good point about Bluetooth. Because I remember the origin of Bluetooth. There was IBM, Toshiba, Ericsson, Nokia, and Intel, they got together and they dreamt about what became Bluetooth, but then it went to IEEE. So maybe it's a good analogy.
Yeah. Please, you have one more. Is that okay, Oscar? Please.
Hi, I'm Prash. I'm from Oxford Optical Labs in the UK. We're one of the new members of the AR Alliance. So
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So about 5 years ago, I went to a opening keynote presentation which basically explained how the DVD, maybe CD, Blu-ray technology was enabled by some very large companies, players in the industry coming together and enabling the technology, and it wouldn't have worked if they didn't all come together. And that was, Bernard, your opening keynote there, which I think about genuinely every week or month or so. So one thing that I do think about is what in AR today, in 2024, might be a similar use case there where, you know, potentially in the AR Alliance, people could come together and solve a problem. Is there a problem that exists right now that is analogous to the DVD problem then?
I think that's a very good analogy. I was actually part of this industry many years ago, 25 years ago or so, where, you know, we understood that the OPU, the optical pickup unit of a simple CD reader, which has to be sold at $5, is actually composed of hundreds of optics, passive optics and active optics that have to be aligned at arc seconds. How do you do this? You can't do this when you're a startup. You can't do this when you're a mega corporation. You can do this only when you have an alliance. And at that time, the alliance was with Philips, with Sony, and the third one was Panasonic, I think. And they enabled that hardware ecosystem, not only the optical pickup unit and the signal processing, but also the CD, which is today we call this nano imprint, right? It was pressure injection molding, but you had to reinvent the entire micro and even nano with Blu-ray nano imprint technology to provide these discs at 20 cents and these optical pickup units at $5. Today, there's an analogy between the display engine and the LCOS display engine or a free panel micro LED display engine is very complex to build up. This is the analogy with the OPU, the optical pickup unit. And the CD is the analogy with the waveguide, where we had to develop new nano imprinter lithography tools and maybe even etching tools. And this is not possible by a startup or by one industry. It is only possible by an alliance, exactly as you said, for the CD, DVD, and then Blu-ray. By the way, Blu-ray, you know, there were many standards at the beginning, you know. I don't remember all the names, but if there wouldn't have been a standard organization, we would still be battling today with 3 or 4 different versions of the Blu-ray. And this is exactly what we're aiming at today.
Well said. With that, we're over time. So, number one, please thank the panel. They did a terrific job. Really appreciate them and the members of the organization, and to you all as well.